Good evening. This is Maestro with the Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. Today, we have a 1v1 on Calderis Desert. Our first player is going to be Soom, stuck in this tunnel, playing as the Ravener Alpha. This is a ranged commander to start out, but can become a melee commander. Also uses those tunnels to just get global mobility around the map. Beautiful color scheme right here, too. And by beautiful, I guess I mean all blue. His opponent is going to be Ruthless at heart, playing as the Warlock. Eldar melee commander, can either become a spellcaster or a melee tank, depending on how he's kitted out. So then, let's take a look at what we got going here. Ravener Alpha, Tyranid hero. Always found it toughest to commentate Tyranids, since they are actually my least favorite race personally, and the one that I have the least experience with. So, most of my knowledge for them is, well, theoretical, or from my experience playing against them. We're going to see the double Termagant build. So double Termagant is kind of interesting in the sense that often you will see triple Hormigaunt out of Tyranid players. Purpose for that being the map control you get just because the Hormigaunts are a little bit faster. They have 6.5 baseline speed. But the double Termagant is kind of an older build, and it's certainly the alternative if you don't go for triple Hormigaunt. And it is something that it gives you range damage, so it's a little bit more well-rounded overall. You definitely don't get as much map control or retreat kill potential out of it. But I think another reason why we might see it here in this matchup is to deal with the Howling Banshees. Howling Banshees will pretty much win head-to-head against a single group of Hormigaunts. And even if you try to put two Hormigaunts against them, you have to worry about them just getting knocked over by special attacks. In this case, though, the Howling Banshee is going to completely ignore all of the Ravener Alpha ranged fire as well as the Termagants. Just going for the Generator Bash there, manages to complete the Generator Bash, loses two models. At first it looked like only one, but one did go down in retreat. So two Howling Banshee model lives paid for to get that Generator Bash. I would say that it's worth it. So the Hormigaunts don't really want to contend directly with the Howling Banshees. Eventually, we will see these Termagants upgraded with Crippling Poison, or rather the Toxin Sacs, which grants the Crippling Poison ability. We don't see it yet, most likely indicating right, that Soom wants to get out his Tier 1.5 squad earlier. So this is a common thing, not just with Tyranids, but with many other races. You delay getting upgrades on your squads, even upgrades that you want in Tier 1, because you want to get that Tier 1.5 unit out first. Ruthless at heart doing pretty much the same thing. Did not get any aspects on the Banshees or the Guardians. Well, I guess technically these days, Guardians don't get aspects, they get battle equipment, because he wanted the Guardian weapon team out. So the Guardian weapon team will obviously kind of be countered by the Ravener Brood. Ravener Brood will just tunnel as soon as they can find the Guardian weapon team. Right now, they don't find it just yet. They actually get into the tunnel before it's destroyed. However, the positioning of the Banshees is also pretty crucial here. Right now, the Banshees are in a position where if the Raveners do jump, the Banshees are there to counter-initiate exactly as it happens. That's why the Raveners back off immediately. And I think in the end, this more or less means this is a one engagement for Ruthless at heart, but somewhere on the map, he actually lost some Guardians. Focusing on that engagement, missing where he's losing an engagement somewhere else. Soom really taking advantage of that global mobility from the Ravener tunnels. Quite annoying and quite powerful. Even there, they don't even have to worry about possibly getting engaged on by the Banshees and then having to retreat and then losing models on retreat, because instead they just get into the tunnel. So a victory point is going to be significantly in favor of Soom at the moment. Ruthless at heart, though, very soon to capture the contested victory point. However, there are some Hormigaunts looking to approach, and they are also around the firing arc of the Guardian weapon team. So good movement by Soom around the map. Yeah, this Guardian weapon team, I was going to say it has to retreat. Now, does it really? Somehow it was actually suppressed, even though the back-facing Guardian, or not back-facing, but the back Guardian weapon team was not suppressing the Hormigaunts. Very, very well-managed engagement by Soom right here. He's also got Crippling Poison, so now he can also counter the Banshees pretty much. They just need to turn and focus fire the Banshees. Second cast has been used, so they want to be able to finish off the Banshees, force the retreat with that second cast. So yeah, I think basically just the fact that this is Eldar and the fact that Ruthless at heart has gone for Howling Banshees explains a lot about why we see the double Termagant instead of the triple Hormigaunt. Just there was the use of both crippling poison cast there to counter the Howling Banshees. Ravener Alpha going forward. This is a little bit risky, and if he's not paying attention, he'll lose the Ravener Alpha. Manages to retreat him just in time. This time not quite as ready to counter the double setup teams out of Ruthless at heart. One of them is forced off. So Soom actually maintaining his map control at the moment, and I thought we were going to see Ruthless at heart capture that contested victory point, but he never actually did. He got it close, but no cigar. One Howling Banshee model will disintegrate there from the Ravener Brood fire, but one of those Ravener Brood models does go down. So it kind of returns the favor in kind. Off the top of my head, I'm going to say that Ravener Brood models cost more because they are tankier and you have fewer of them. So let's take a look. 66 and 7. Oh yeah, undoubtedly, especially because Howling Banshees shouldn't actually cost any power to reinforce. Gonna find out the exact cost of the 35. Yeah, it's quite a bit less. So yes, that's quite a winning trade in favor of the Banshees to actually get that model. All right, so finally, Ruthless at heart will actually succeed in capturing the victory point at that time. I'm looking at the firing arc here. Okay, yeah, I mean, he's got the layered firing arcs, and this is just pretty classic Eldar play. Guardian weapons teams are more central to how Eldar are played than other races are using their own setup teams. It's both because the Guardian weapon team is in some ways a little bit more powerful than the other setup teams, and also because the Eldar units are squishier, so they can't really afford to tank as much. Neither the Banshees nor the Guardians really want to be tanking compared to, say, like Tactical Marines for Space Marines or Chaos Space Marines for Chaos Space Marines. So nice use by Soom of a warrior that I don't feel is that common, but I personally do love seeing it, and I could have called it out earlier, which he's gotten the hardened carapace for the Ravener Alpha, and that makes him burrow underground. And when he is burrowed, he is infiltrated. It counts as infiltration, even though visually it looks different. And Ruthless at heart has no counter to this. His best counter, well, there he does catch, or rather, Soom is caught burrowing a little bit earlier. I think that was a little premature there. He didn't scout out the second Guardian weapon team, and he would have to worry about the fact that even if he did, he would be in the firing arc of the base turrets. So, because Ruthless at heart has gone for this double Guardian weapon team play, it was extremely unlikely for him to get Rangers, and Rangers are the detector unit for Eldar. And because Soom pretty much knew that, it's targeting this Shuriken cannon because the Ravener Alpha is in a tunnel. Soom just made a realization that would have been a powerful war gear, and yeah, he's just going to be pretty much uncontested, and Ruthless at heart just going to have to keep it in mind, keep the Howling Banshees in a position where they are unlikely to get disrupted by the Ravener Alpha as well. But I mean, just immediate retreat from the use of that ability, so just a very, very powerful war gear choice by Soom at the moment. Ruthless at heart still not choosing to counter it. Instead, he will be getting a Falcon. Or at least he's not choosing to detect it. So we'll see if he can manage this with the Falcon. And I mean, certainly one advantage he has, actually, is that he's got quite a tech lead that I didn't even realize. Where did that tech lead even come from? I mean, it must have come from his early generator pressure, given the fact that Ruthless at heart, his early Tier 1 investment was not cheap. I mean, he didn't get all the battle equipments, but he did have 2 Dire Avenger squads. He does have Howling Banshees, and then he had 2 Tier 1.5 units to only 1 for Soom. Soom, meanwhile, he mostly had just the Termagant Brood upgrade, so it must have just had a lot to do with the power bash that he had early on. Ruthless at heart, that is. Venom Brood choice is rather obvious. This is actually a little bit risky. I mean, yes, it disrupts the Guardian weapon team, but it's just Ravener Alpha has so little health here. Like, if there was anything behind that, this actually could be a nice power play for Ruthless at Heart. But, of course, the Crippling Poison will stop the Howling Banshees in their place. Technically not stopping. It is a 90% slow, so that's why they really come very, very close to just being at a halt. And we're going to see the Immolator Blade from the Warlock, and this is something that I actually was kind of wondering if we would see. It is an interesting warrior these days in that it has been somewhat buffed. Oh my god, but a Termagant Brood is just taken out in that engagement, rather surprisingly. That being said, the Falcon is so far up, the Venom Brood is just chasing it. Venom Brood is chasing. I think they take it out here. Yeah. Wow, so that Falcon did not get much value at all, does not last very long at all. Grenade takes out another Venom Brood model, but at this point, the value out of the Venom Brood has been pretty much realized, even though the Venom Brood now, you know, I was almost about to say that they don't serve that much of a purpose, but the truth is that they do. We're going to see a call-in right here. Oh, but a call-in right after it. The Autarch going to be called in right after. Actually beautifully played by Ruthless at Heart there. Oh no, that was unfortunately, that was a very unfortunate call-in for... Oh my god, if he loses this here, oh my god. That was absolutely crazy. You know, part of me is almost wondering what was Soom thinking there. Because, I mean, he just had units of his retreat. They're all in base, and he calls in the Raveners. But what's just even more amazing there is how Ruthless at Heart turned that into a kill. He wiped that squad from full. But I mean, the Autarch call in on reaction to it, like especially because once Soom called it in, he was committed, and it's a long activation time for, well, technically both of them, but that just means that like once Ruthless at Heart saw the indicator, he knew that Soom was committed to that, and there was nothing he could do to stop it, and he actually had the Raveners in what was honestly a terrible position. So good plays on both sides. Soom not out of it yet, certainly making good on the Ravener mobility. Incredibly annoying here, just wipes the entire farm, especially with the strength of the Venom Brood here. Anti-vehicle unit with no vehicles to target means their next best target is the generator farm. But what I was trying to say before that just that crazy wipe on the Raveners was how the Venom Brood still actually serves quite a better purpose than more than most other anti-vehicle units because of the fact that they are offering this range synapse. Improves... So, nearby Tyranids receive 35% improved range damage and 25% improved health, which is, it's a fantastic buff. That being said, that buff might not exist longer if they're taken out by the Howling Banshees. So Termagant's not even bothering to use Crippling Poison there because, well, 3 units to target. They only have 1 cast of Crippling Poison, which is also something that really hurts Soom. The fact that he lost that Termagant Brood, not having the double cast of Crippling Poison, just indirectly gives so much more value to the Banshees, and especially now the fact that the Autarch is on the field. Ruthless at Heart kind of has a pretty dominant force in terms of what he has in terms of melee, and Soom is in a position right now where he can't really stop that. So Soom still has that significant map control. He's got that generator advantage, but what he doesn't have is a compositional advantage. And I think I want to see Ruthless at Heart try to go for actually capturing this victory point right now. While he still has this advantage in terms of his composition, turn that compositional advantage into at least a double cap, but he's going to lose. Ruthless at Heart going to lose the Warlock somehow. Unfortunately, with the Warlock dead and the Autarch not here. Alright, he manages to win that fight anyway. I think just Crippling Poison cast not enough there. Single Crippling Poison not enough to deal with the Howling Banshees, especially with all those units also getting suppressed by the Guardian Weapon team. So even with the Crippling Poison cast, they wouldn't be able to do enough follow-up damage to scare off the Howling Banshee. So it was still a 1 engagement. And, you know, maybe Ruthless at Heart did make the better decision than what I was proposing. He actually went for the engagement, gave up a few victory points in the process, but it might give him overall better map control. And Warp Spiders have been called in by Ruthless at Heart, which is something that I feel is actually just very strong at the moment. the aspect of the Haywire somewhat unnecessary for the moment. It does actually give the Warp Spiders a little bit more range damage, so it does improve them at the moment because the Warp Spider Exarch gets the dual Death Spinners instead of just the single Death Spinner. So he's going to be doing more damage with that, but it is 20 power for something that definitely isn't crucial at the moment. Of course, probably just what he's thinking is that, you know, he's playing against a Tyranid player. He hasn't bashed the generator farm for Soom, so Ruthless at heart knows that Tier 3 is coming and that Carnifexes are pretty much inevitable, or, of course, a Swarmlord. Usually more likely Carnifex because you can get multiple Carnifexes. The Carnifex is cheaper, so that means you get it out on the field earlier. And that does kind of bridge the gap of Tyranids generally having a strong Tier 1, a weaker Tier 2, and then a strong Tier 3 again. So they generally don't want to be stalling out their Tier 2. And if you go to Tier 3, but you don't have a unit, you are in many ways effectively still in Tier 2 because you're not actually getting much of the advantage of being in Tier 3. Ruthless at heart kind of taking advantage of all this time. Soom basically just waiting to try to tech up. And eventually get out a Tier 3 super unit to capture up the map. And this is going to go a long way to bringing him back in this game, which is just kind of how most matchups work against Tyranids. You're often giving up a victory point. You're often giving up the victory points in Tier 1 and expecting to make it back up later in the game. Ruthless at heart basically making it up in the Tier 2. But eventually, man, Soom might actually be going for a Swarmlord here. Grenade goes in. So does a Destructor. Ravener's now actually way behind enemy lines when they're on the verge of losing this engagement. But here is another Ravener call-in, unless it's... Yes, it's a Ravener call-in. The Ravener call-in, though, I think he's just going to be burrowing out. He burrows in? Where is he going with these Raveners? I thought that was going to be just like a burrow out. Unfortunately, it wasn't a great call-in yet again. I think, of course, this time he's just lucky that, you know, the Autarch is actually not on the field anymore. Don't know if maybe the Autarch Skyleapt, missed that, or if the Autarch actually got killed. I feel like it's more likely that the Autarch Skyleapt. And now this is actually getting super questionable for Soom. He used the Ravener call-in again. I feel it wasn't a very great use of that, because it was yet another, and especially the burrow forward. I was like, this guy's a madman. What is he doing? And then he just had to retreat them. And he was mostly just lucky not to lose a single one. So he finally does start the Carnifex. Actually, I'm not 100% sure if when he used the Ravener call-in, if he actually had enough power to... Sorry, the Swarmlord. If he actually even had enough power to start the Swarmlord. So, but this is a lot of time. And this is... So we're going to see the Swarmlord. And I do think the Swarmlord is honestly a fantastic unit. But... by choosing the Swarmlord, there was just a lot of delay there. A lot of delay for Soom, where he's now actually losing in terms of victory points. When there was a point where a couple minutes ago, he actually had a very significant victory point lead. And he's going to be giving a lot more up. He's going to give up a lot more victory points, first of all, before this Swarmlord even finishes building. And then, of course, the Swarmlord needs to walk out onto the field. He needs to win an engagement. So he's gonna be down to, I'm gonna say, like low 100 victory points before I think he even gets, before he even like whites out one of the victory points. He's gonna try to make something happen first, but he's staring down double Warp Spiders. The range damage from double Warp Spiders is completely overwhelming. He cannot contest that with what he has at the moment. Howling Banshees are getting low, so eventually they will need to retreat. Double Warp Spiders just need to make sure they dodge the Ravener jumps. They dodge one. That's one Ravener squad that's just going to get shredded. There is a second Ravener jump, or rather burrow possibility. Now he needs to just roll micro them. Actually, the teleport is not going to matter. They're just getting shredded so much. Okay, now the Swarmlord is here. Gets double Haywire, though, so that just completely stops it in its place. Where is the Bright Lance, though? We're gonna see double Bright Lance. Double Bright Lance is gonna be a lot of damage. And the Bright Lance is already targeting the Swarmlord. Okay, but now one Ravener Brood is back alive. Or rather, one Ravener is back out on the field, and finally, Soom is actually able to weather the storm and just push forward. So he does a little better than I projected he would. I thought he would be in the low 100s. It turns out he's only like in the mid 100s, higher than mid actually. But still, you know, a couple minutes ago, it was like 440 to 245, and now he's losing. He basically just lost 300 victory points just in that rather slow transition for him to finally getting out his tier 3 super unit. Oh my god, he's not microing out of the way of the immolate. What? Okay. I mean, at this point, I can only imagine that he was content to give them up. But I don't know, especially the Raveners? I don't know. This is almost just one of those ones where it's like I almost feel like he's just kind of shitting the bed on this one. And the Swarmlord is dead. The Swarmlord does not make it out alive. Maybe it does. That is going to be... I forgot about the Ravener Alpha. That is the Brightlance Disrupted. And it looks like the Haywires are on cooldown. Brightlance is going to try to set up again. If anything, it's taking too long to set up again. And it's actually... The Swarmlord is going to get out of there. Are you kidding me? Oh my god. So, Soom, though, he loses the Ravener Alpha. Very, very messy in these late-game engagements. It's definitely not the cleanest play out of him. But, you know, nevertheless, he is holding on. All right, they'll get the they'll get the decap, but they can't stay any longer. Otherwise, they run the risk of losing the entire squad, not just models. They're pretty lucky to actually not even lose a single model there. Carnifex will finally come out. So, Carnifex right here, 150. Man, I do honestly wonder how this possibly could have been different if Soom had gone for the Carnifex instead of the Swarmlord. We see the Carnifex costing 575 requisition and 150 power, compared to the Swarmlord costing, I believe it was 750 requisition and 200 power. So, and you certainly, obviously, there are some of you who watch this channel who play the game a bit more than me these days, and you can probably explain. There are probably some people who might feel that the Swarmlord is indeed the better choice, and of course, oh, wait a minute, where's that Carnifex? Oh, the Carnifex is here. Certainly, it's nice to have both the Swarmlord and the Carnifex, but I don't know. In my personal opinion, I think it might have been better to have the Carnifex earlier, try to make something happen with that, and then while you have the Carnifex out and you're actually fighting with a tier 3 army, then work on getting the Swarmlord eventually. That being said, the double Haywire on the Carnifex is actually not great, because that means that the Swarmlord is able to completely run free. So in that case, I don't know if I like the double Haywire there. I think you could also... Oh no, the Banshees. They did not get into the webway in time. I think you could make the argument that between the Carnifex and the Swarmlord, Ruthless at heart possibly loses that engagement no matter what. But he might have been able to hold out a little bit longer if he had actually split the Haywires, used one on the Carnifex and one on the Swarmlord. Now he's just trying to get back out here, and, you know, before it was Ruthless at heart, just really using the range dominance of these double warp spiders to oppress Soom. But this explains actually why Soom wanted the double Raveners and why he did use that Ravener call-in. So I don't think it's wrong that he used the Ravener call-in to get that squad of Raveners, but I definitely think the spots where he put his Ravener call-ins in and his timing on them have been pretty shaky in this entire game, actually. And he's about to lose one of the Raveners. Don't lose one of the Raveners. One of the Ravener brews, that is, not the Ravener Alpha. Ravener Alpha still dead here. Could consider getting the Ravener Alpha back, because he should have almost... Yeah, he's got almost enough requisition for it. I think he'll get him back. No. Wait. Actually, yes. He still has that option. And I actually really don't see a reason why he shouldn't get it back. He has barely any resources to get like another unit. He also does not have the population for it, so I think he should just get this Ravener back. Warp Spider's going to work on shredding the Raveners right here. Raveners, though, pretty tanky with the range synapse. However, it is a single Ravener brood against double Warp Spiders, so they do eventually lose that fight. And the Raveners, my god, Soom not on top of his micro there, not even retreating them in time to save them. Now, just in case, you know, I know we've got a few keyboard warriors between both my channel and Indrid's. And clearly, this game has not had the cleanest play, particularly from Soom. But I'm going to let you know that, yes, these guys are actually quite good. They are actually quite good. They probably are better than the majority of people, both watching and commenting. But in this case, we are obviously seeing not the cleanest play and definitely micro mistakes out of Soom. And I just want to say that in part, just in case we do have any people who are, you know, going to be a little toxic in the comments, which going to remind you that these days I pretty much don't tolerate that. If I do see comments, I've kind of warned people about this before, and if I do see comments where it's basically just people insulting or flaming the players, I honestly do just delete it. It doesn't mean that you can't criticize their play if you do it, you know, in a civilized way. I'm criticizing it right now when I say that the play is not clean here. That what is going on? I mean, now he's I don't know, sacrificing the Raveners for all these Rippers, which is rather interesting. I don't know. Maybe he just feels that the Rippers can just tie things up. They're actually pretty expendable. Apparently, so are the Raveners. They can just tie things up. I think the Ripper is especially good against things like the Guardian weapon teams. And this is actually now starting to look really, really strong for Soom. The infantry just like too squishy, and of course they can be tied up. And Ruthless at Heart is stuck in tier 2, so he lacks anything like a fire prism that can put pressure on the Carnifex from long range without being easily tied up the way a Bright Lance can be. So I think that's why we see Ruthless at Heart attempting to go to tier 3. And if that's the plan, of course, that's why, yeah, a node goes down right here. I think that's part of what's going on for Ruthless at Heart. I think he's recognizing that he might need something like a Fire Prism to actually deal with Soom's current composition. Alright, Raveners, not Raveners, just Venom Brood, just looking to capture the point. So we see Soom just trying to play the victory point game. And definitely one of the weaknesses of Soom's current composition is that he is rather low on units that can cap. Certainly Swarmlord and Carnifex, really just the core of his army at the moment, so they can't cap. I actually don't remember off the top of my head if Rippers can cap points. And, you know, I'm embarrassed to say it. I'm actually tempted to say that I don't think they can. And maybe we'll find out soon enough. It's also actually just crazy that we're seeing such a Ripper focus here. I don't know if I've ever seen this, like in the past decade, where players mostly getting Rippers. They're just going past the victory point, not even one. So that means the point of them is to tie up the Guardian weapon team and just force them off. And that just clears the way. Because now the Swarmlord, it's actually... Because, you know, as much as I've criticized Soom, and as much as I think there have been things to criticize, I think this mass Ripper play is actually working out. I think it's actually pretty smart. It actually just seems to be the right play, and it's working. It's possibly going to deliver Soom the game. But Ruthless at Heart, apparently not done yet. So... not only does he have tier 3 now, tier 3 also means he has the Eldritch. The Eldritch is here. Was the Haywire used in combination with it? I think a single Haywire was used to set it up. But he's not going to get the follow-up to finish it off because the Guardian weapons teams are just being disrupted too much. He even has to get a third Guardian weapon team. This one as a Shuriken Cannon. But the Rippers also don't get suppressed, so they can just charge ahead. My god, Rippers are OP, apparently. Double Bright Lance setting up to see if they can finally take out this Swarmlord, so the Rippers go forward. They're going to try to tie up the Guardian Weapons teams, but they're just getting shredded by the base turrets. I think one of those Guardian Weapons teams tied up, but I think the Swarmlord finally goes down here, and he does. I think it would also be interesting for Soom to, like, I don't know if Soom watches, but if he does see this, obviously there were parts in which I was critical, but maybe he can also explain a little bit more. Maybe sometimes when he lost the units, it actually was just intentional. This is very, very nice. Just delaying that point capture, especially once all the other units have moved off, because the Dire Avengers by themselves, they just can't fight the Ravener, especially this Ravener now fully upgraded. Crippling Talent, so he's gone for full melee build. Also reduces the damage, and he'll just infiltrate again, and by infiltrate I mean burrow. And so now there's more to deal with him, but he can still delay it. Like, he can knock them over. I imagine he's going to knock them over once they're like maybe 75% of the way, unless he has his attention elsewhere. I guess he does. Oh, wow. Okay, finally. A little bit late that time, I think. Now he needs to retreat the Ravener, though, before he loses it to the Warp Spiders. Oh, no, he's actually going to lose it to the Warp Spiders. And I don't think that was the retreat path that he wanted. This is a dead Ravener Alpha. Yeah, I mean, that's rough. Like, I feel what we see from Soom, I think there's a lot of great decision-making. I think there's a lot of great, just knowledge of the game that he's showing right here. My god. And just the Carnifex is spawning more Rippers. But definitely what he is a little lacking in is kind of the micro, and his reaction time has not really been on point in this game. He might pull it out anyway, because it's actually getting really tough. Oh, I think we're actually pretty close to a checkmate situation for Ruthless at heart. His only capping unit is on the left side of the map, because with the Ravener Alpha dead yet again. So that's why the Venom Brood are making their way here. Where's the Eldritch? The Eldritch to try to take out the Carnifex. Second Eldritch. Will there be enough follow-up? No, because the Bright Lance is going to be scared off. All right, so Soom isn't completely done yet. But this is actually incredibly difficult for him. He revives the Ravener Alpha because he has to. I don't know, maybe... Maybe with the resources that he spent on reviving the Ravener Alpha, he could have... Oh, but the Autarch finally comes back in. The Autarch actually just kind of try to capture this. Like, I don't think she gets... I think she could have gotten the decap, but even the decap might have been risky. Yeah, this is actually still a game here. Soom with the double cap. Oh no, but finally we're actually going to see a Carnifex. This one's actually just going down because there's not enough support for it this time. And that's going to be a dead Carnifex. So Ruthless at heart moves in. We're going to see the Venom Brood try to take it, but... Okay, the Venom Brood can wipe this out, especially... Okay, now Soom actually having the reaction time. And I don't know how he's managing this one, where these other models are getting around the energy shield. Oh no. How is this Carnifex still alive? And it's going to take out the Guardian Weapon team. Are you kidding me? What on earth is going on here? The Warlock going to try to finish it off. I think he can. 20. No, the regeneration's going to be better than the damage. My god, there are just things going on all sides of this map. And the Dire Avengers actually not able to finish off the Venom Brood before they capture that point. I think the Warlock leader here might deliver this engagement in favor of the Dire Avengers, but there's so little time. Okay, it is going to be Ruthless at heart getting the double cap, and you know what? With the double cap, I think that does finally give the game to him. We're going to see the Ravener Alpha make a last stand here. He just retreats instantly. I don't even know what happened there. All right, I think with the Dire Avengers, or rather the Guardians, did I call them Dire Avengers? The Guardians here on this point, I think that's the double cap for Ruthless at heart to win the game. Maybe not. Ravener's still trying to make something happen. Was a Ravener call in? But they just don't stand a chance against the combined might of the Autarch and the Warlock. Yeah, this is it. This is the game. Carnifex is in base. I mean, at that point, it's mostly just for fun, but that is going to be the game going to Ruthless at heart. All right, that'll be it. Great to actually just cast a 1v1. Not that I haven't been doing that with the Elite League stuff in the past, but this was a fun one to cast. Do personally enjoy casting 1v1 games more than 3v3s, but, you know, I'll have some 3v3s coming up too. At any rate, I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good night.